Welcome to the Evening Review. Joining us in studio is Manager for Corporate Communications at the Namibia Statistics Agency, Mr. Iipumbu Sakaria. Welcome to the Evening Review, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the invite.
This week, you announced the start of the launch of the census at State House. Touching on the issue of the census, how are preparations going so far?
Yes, good question. Yes, it's factual. It was launched on Wednesday by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Namibia. And the aim of the launch was really just to assure or let people know that really the census is on. It's a government initiative. It's something that is done for the benefit of everybody, private sector, public sector, individuals, students, learners, whoever needs data. And the preparations are ongoing. We started long time ago, as soon as the budget was announced in February. The first thing we did was stakeholder engagement, which means as soon as it was announced that the budget is availed, we went to our stakeholders. We started off with the Namibian Defence Force and the police, the security sector, and the modus of operandi was simply that we informed them that there's a census. We took them through how the census will be done, how many people will be involved, where it will be done, what is the approach that we are using. And then, of course, we requested them for assistance just to make sure that everything is safe. You know, whenever you have big projects, people come up with crazy schemes to scam others, and we don't want such things. Number one, security is not just for our enumerators, but also for the households where we enumerate. So we managed to go see all 14 regional councils. We went in every region, met all the governors, all the councillors, the CROs, major local authorities in each region. And then, of course, we also, thereafter, we engaged the private sector, other stakeholders like agricultural unions, your mines, your fisheries observatories, all stakeholders that we have. Because the census, you can't run it on your own, can't be run by an institution with such a small number of people. Of course, we have maybe around 160 staff, but to run a census in such a big country like ours, it's very significant. So recruitment had started, I think we advertised in July, and we received huge numbers of applicants, over 110,000. We could only, of course, only accommodate 13,000, 13,000. And factually, a lot of people who did qualify simply could not be absorbed simply because of capacity, because of the numbers that you have. So in terms of field work, training, the training started officially on the 24th of July. And that was for the master's training, and it's coming to an end this week, Saturday, with the training of the full 9,500 enumerators approximately that were called upon some good 2 weeks ago. That will complete the training phase on Saturday, where after now the phase one, your listing starts, where actually people come into people's households to collect data. So most of the things are in place. It's a huge exercise. We have gone completely digital, which means we are not using paper for this exercise. Mm-hmm. Of course, we'll have a few reserves just to ensure that where maybe technology fails, we have backup, but it's a fully digitally, spatially enabled census, meaning we've gone digital. That's why you also see our adverts, our applications. It was online. People are going to use gadgets, and we needed people that are able, that are literate, that are able to handle gadgets, to be educated in such things. Yes.
You touched on the issue of recruitment, and we've seen in recent times, particularly recently in Groot-Ope in the Commerce region elsewhere in Tsumkwe and the Oshodon-Jupa region, where there were complaints that locals are not being prioritized to fill these positions. What is the Statistics Agency going to do to ensure, in future, to ensure that all of the constituencies are accounted for, and that people from these constituencies are able to be employed as numerators, given now obviously unemployment concerns in the country?
Okay. Good question. It's twofold. Number one, our recruitment strategy was based on recruiting from constituencies, which means we wanted the idea was to broaden the perspective so that we recruit people from each and every constituency. That is the target. So the idea was to say, if I'm, for example, in Katima Mulilo constituency, for example, and I am number one unemployed, that was criteria number one, I am unemployed, then I meet the requirements, then you are the one that we are looking for to work in your constituency, because you are there, you are unemployed, and you qualify to do that. However, we did not advance the notion that says, if I'm not from Katima, I can't work in Katima. So we are consciously aware that 200% of the times, it's not possible to do that. As an agency, we are happy if 85–90% of the people that we get in that constituency are from that constituency. But we did not advance the notion that if you're not from Windhoek West, you can't work from Windhoek West. We prefer to recruit people from Windhoek West to work in Windhoek West. However, if we maybe did not find sufficient there that qualified, then we unfortunately had to take from an adjacent constituency. That was number one. We wanted to cover the entire country. We all know the state of unemployment in the country. We all know how inequality is spread, and we also know the poverty levels. So the idea was to spread as far and as much as possible. I think on that degree, really, I think we have achieved that, because even when you see the applicants, they had to indicate where they are from. Again, not necessarily to say if you are not from Erongo, you can't work in Erongo, but for us it was easier to spread the cakes in such a manner that everybody gets an opportunity. On your other aspect, the critical one, how in some constituencies people felt that some people were maybe not taken, or etc. We had criterias of 20 points minimum in English, and then of course literacy. We tried to the best of our abilities to cater or see how best to include as many as possible. So we have certain areas or certain where we have marginalized communities, and what the agency has done deliberately, they've decided to allocate a certain percentage. I'll just not have it in my head now, and to say part of our recruitment, so much percent must be from the marginalized communities. Then when we went to engage all our stakeholders throughout, especially March and April, it became very clear that in some communities we might struggle to get the required educational criteria, qualifications. And in many instances, what we have done is NSA has lowered the qualification requirements for marginalized communities for number one, inclusion and ability of engaging the community language. So what we have done is, like you said, what has NSA done? For the marginalized communities, we have lowered the requirements simply to include people. In some areas, you mentioned Groothout, for example.
Yes.
We also had an area of maybe Tsumkwe where there was a challenge. Simply there, what you had is just perceptions of I applied, I didn't get it, this one applied and he got it. And in some instances, you really had a situation, for example, in Tsumkwe, where many that speak the local vernacular, they, for example, did not meet the requirements to actually make it. The ones that did, we did our best to include them, even to the extent where we went to engage and assist with recruitment. And the idea was to make sure that nobody is left out, because usually if people feel excluded, then even tomorrow when you're an accountant, they won't be counted. So we try to be as inclusive as possible. We have over 121 constituencies, and currently we've only had complaints of 4 constituencies. That was Commerce Rural, where you have now Grootaup, we had Tsumkwe, we have Tinsabis, and we had Zambezi, a certain area in Zambezi. The main cause, the main reasons or the main tenets of those concerns was simply a feeling of exclusion, or just simply people feeling that I tried to make it but I didn't make it. On the first one where you tried to make it but you didn't make it, it was just numbers. Like I said, we had over 110,000 people that applied. We could only take 13,000, so it was very possible that some people will not make it. It's just numbers, it's mathematics. In the other areas, like I already said, we went out of our way to lower qualifications so that we absorb as many as possible. And currently, like I think in Tsumkwe, we managed to get some in and train them to be part of the candidates, to become enumerators, and it has gone well. Now you must understand that often we also have many things are just perceptions, where you perceive that no, this person is not from here, or is not from there, or is not from here. But what we required is proof of residence in a constituency. For example, in Tsumkwe, we had a few areas. There was GAM and some other areas, but in that constituency. But the thing is, constituencies are usually very big, and it does not mean if people are maybe predominantly in a certain area in a constituency, there are not other people somewhere else in that constituency as well. So that was just really a perception, and usually we can understand. It's usually just a sense of people are unemployed, people want jobs, and often they just think, why didn't I make it and can I not make it as well? So, but when you look at, like I told you now already, the areas, we have 4 out of 121 where such issues arose. But when you just look at those mathematics, it's less than 4%, it's 3%, 2% of your population group. So as much as their views are highly significant and we recognize them and they're important to us, we are also aware that we did our best. We tried our level best to be as inclusive as possible. And it's just that really because of numbers, we had more applicants than job opportunities.
I'd like to touch more on the census, but we'll have to go for a short commercial break. So please do stay tuned.
Neopaints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neopaints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neopaints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Welcome back to the Evening Review. The census was initially scheduled to take place in 2020, but then the unknown came, that being COVID-19. And subsequently, government's budgetary allocations had to go towards fighting its COVID efforts. Now that we've got the effort, now that we've got the census, Does the NSA feel that government has stepped up financially, and are you satisfied with the budgetary allocations, or do you think more can still be done?
Definitely satisfied. Census was supposed to take place 2021, of course, like you said, but then COVID came, etc. It's very irresponsible to conduct a census during the COVID times. Nobody was going to open their doors for you, so it had to be moved. And when you say then there was budget constraints, etc., we all know what COVID did to the budget, to everybody's budget, not just government but also individuals. And so now the census is taking place. Are we satisfied with what the government has done? Of course we are satisfied. You are more than satisfied. You appreciate, you know the state of affairs of the economy. You know what certain years have done to your economy, especially your 2018-19. It was deep. Then COVID came, which really just hit the economic sector drastically, of course, also the labor market. So are we content with what we have? We're not just content, we appreciate. Remember, this is it's a huge amount of money that is given. It's a census that takes place generally after every 10 years, so it's a massive exercise. Of course, we appreciate what has been done, and we'll just try to do the best with it and make sure that everybody is counted, all household information is provided, so that we can update our demographic, social and economic data for the country.
And then take us through the timelines of the census from where we're sitting now. Yesterday was the launch. What happens now from today going forward?
Okay, good question. So what is going to happen now is the timelines. Now we have training until Saturday. So all the enumerators are currently in training, and they will finish on Saturday. Thereafter, on Sunday, they will be deployed to their constituencies, to where they need to, or their enumeration areas where they need to start. So from the 18th, that's now deployment. So from Monday next week, our enumerators will be doing what we call listing. They will go through the whole country for an entire week, and they're listing all household. What it practically means is that they come to your house. We had a mapping exercise where we listed all built-out structures in the country.
Including shacks?
Including shacks, everything. And now when we come back now from next week already, people just want to assure that this structure that's in my database is still here, or now there's a new one, because it's a household survey, meaning we'll be coming to people's households to go count them. We'll not count people in the streets. We'll count them at your household, and those household structures must be recorded, because we can't also have, it will be impossible for somebody to just be under a tree and claim to be counting people. You must go to a structure. Our census is GIS enabled, which means it will speak to each other. So that's what's going to happen for a week, where we will just come to people's household. We inform them that we are from the census. Our role is to list now. Listing is just now getting data of that household. We want to know who's the head of the household, maybe contact numbers, and then we alert you that we'll come back next week so that we can count you. That's now next week. What is then critical, your census period runs from 18 to 3 November, 18 September until 3 November. But from the 18th until the 24th, it's just listing. From the 25th until 13 October, it's a good 2.5 weeks, or let's say 3 weeks. People will now, our enumerators will now go throughout the country and count people or enumerate people and enumerate households, which means we don't only just count people, we also want to understand what are the living conditions of people. Is this a brick house? Do you have access to water, access to electricity? What is the ICT infrastructure? Do you have access to sanitation? Just living conditions, we need to understand. Then of course we ask labor force questions, industry, to understand, are people employed, are they unemployed? If you are working, where are you working? Do you get an income? Don't you get an income? We need to update our data. Thereafter then, we're going to have something that we call the post-enumeration survey. The post-enumeration survey, so for the first 3 weeks, It's a full enumeration where we have 13,000 people throughout the country. Thereafter, now from 18 October until 3 November, we sent in a smaller team that we call the post-enumeration survey. It's nothing else but a quality assurance exercise. So they will come, and that is a sample-based survey where they'll just go around and want to verify the correctness of the data collected. It's just really quality assurance. Thereafter, now of course you have data processing, you have analysis, production, and the idea is that within the next 6 months, preferably by the end of March 2024, would want to have the preliminary report out so that we can see what is the state of affairs, and then towards the end of September we would want to have the full report out. What I think is important to note for the whole nation is what we call the reference night, which means a census must be referenced to a certain date, meaning when we say what was the state of affairs in Namibia on this day, that specific day is Sunday the 24th of September, which means that's the time all our data relates to that. Meaning, if you found yourself in the country on that day, you will be counted. If you did not find yourself in the borders of Namibia on that day, you will not be counted. So those that are in the diaspora, those that are not in the country, they will not be counted. There are two ways to count populations. One is where you include your nationals that are away, and the other is not. So we only count people in Namibia, irrespective of who you are, whether you are from wherever, we don't care. But we're also not bothered whether you are here legally or not. It's not this. We're not immigration officers. We're not police officials. We're not coming to do anything. As per Act, we just collect data and we produce, analyze, and disseminate them. And when people come to your house, they will ask you from the 25th, who slept in your house on the 24th? Let's say I come to your house on Monday. I'll ask, who slept in your house last night? The purpose of that is people will be counted where they sleep. The idea of that is to avoid double counting, so that you are not counted here and counted somewhere else again. You can't sleep at two places at once. So that is what we want to know. What was the state of affairs by the 24th of September? So that is very crucial to us. We would like the nation to participate. Often people ask, why must we participate? There are many reasons. Number one, you count, you matter. You yourself might be interested or need that data. We need to update our information. We need accurate data. If we don't give accurate data, you can't expect accurate information. We have our own quality control mechanisms in place to ensure that we do so. And people must just understand that it's an exercise that takes place once in 10 years. I don't think it's too much to ask for somebody to take maybe 20 minutes of their time to respond to these questions. It's once in 10 years. But the benefits of it, they by far outweigh the 20 minutes that you are going to spend with our enumerators. Information is confidential by law, which means it's anonymized, and it's what you use that word, it's anonymized and then encrypted, which means transfer of data can't be intercepted. It all goes to our data processing center, and anonymized. Nobody can relate and say, this is Mr. Ohone's house, this is the state of affairs. We don't allow such data. We don't operate data in such a manner. So all data is safe. All data is handled with utmost confidentiality as by law, and people must understand that everybody should be counted, whether you are here legally or not. That's not what we are here for. We just want to know who's here and what are their living conditions. So everybody should be counted. Of course, we have sentiments where some people feel that they have not been recruited and therefore they will not be employed. I can sympathize with them, simply because unemployment in the country is quite an issue. It's it leads to poverty, to inequality, etc. However, one thing that we just want to assure the nation is that we tried. We tried to recruit as many as possible. We targeted only unemployed simply because why do we want to take somebody who takes leave and takes up a position for somebody who's unemployed? We tried our best, and I think people should not really, I know it's not easy, but they must understand that from the agency, we really went out of our way to ensure that we get as many people as possible, spread throughout the entire country, everybody included, and it's just, we just plead with people to understand. Maybe it's true they might have really not made it in the census, but it surely does not mean that they might not be able to make it at another project in the future, for example, as well. And we just want to plead with all of them that we understand. We really do understand. We're sitting on top of statistics, so we do understand their plight and their concerns. It's just that they should just bear with us. They should please be counted, provide information, and that will also help government and private sector or whoever to plan properly.
Thank you very much for joining us on the Evening Review.
You are most welcome. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a pleasant evening.